Malasudam Kumbha Vibodha Mudra Vidyavirajata Karavari Jatam Apara Karunya Sudamburashim Shri Sharadamba Pranatosmi Nityam. Seeking the benediction of Jagannmata Sharda Parmeshwari, Vagdevi Saraswati, the repository of all that is culture, knowledge, tradition, wisdom, art, learning and fine art, I bow to her as I commence my address today. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this pleasant and solemn function organized this evening to mark a milestone in the annals of history of our institution, namely the Diamond Jubilee of this auditorium. Events like this will pale into insignificance if one were to recognize and realize that it is by efflux of time and every institution worth its salt, sooner or later, will claim that peak by passage of time. But then, Shanmukhananda is an institution with a difference. It is probably one of the very few institutions in the world which had had a rebirth. The grace of God gave it a long innings after its demise to carry on the journey of espousing the cause of the culture of this blessed land of ours. That is the reason why milestones in the journey of this institution subsequent to its birth are indeed very significant. Life is just not of milestones but of moments as well, said Helen Keller. What we are celebrating today is not the passage of time. It is the cherished moments of the past that are merged and unfolding into the present this evening. It is that which we are celebrating this evening. On this very day, this Vyasapita turns 60. Diamond bells chime in the heart of all heart lovers. All those connoisseurs of music and all those who are interested in the preservation, promotion and perpetuation of this great virasat, of this blessed land of ours. Institutions are structured for perpetuity. Milestones like these are only interludes, brief interludes, which in a sense are breaks in the long journey, giving you time to pause and reflect, and then re-energize yourself with double vigor to pursue the mission for which the institution has been created. Here again, this institution of ours is an unending institution. With every stage of fulfillment, it only beckons us to move on and on with greater speed for higher realization of the objects for which this institution has been created. On the 22nd of August 1963, this majestic auditorium was dedicated to the nation, as she said, by Dr. Vijayalakshmi Pandit, the then governor of Maharashtra, the newborn state. The first concert on this stage on that very day was by the great Mahavidwan, Arigudi Ramanuja Iyengar. That was the beginning of the happenings on this stage. And for 60 long years thereafter, and for many more generations to come, thanks to the blessings of the great master, that this stage has become a place of happening, and the best of artists across the world have all seen it as a blessing to come over here and perform here. From the haunting melody of a sweet vocal recital to the graceful moments of a Bharatanatyam dancer or the sweet strains of Veena or the joyous gathering of the parents, students and teachers of a neighborhood school celebrating their annual day, or the annual general meetings of large corporations and business conglomerates, or the adhivations, Maha-adhivations of nationally acclaimed political parties, or the best of international opera and orchestra from across the globe on this stage. This auditorium has been a silent witness to all. Today it is more than an edifice. It's part of a living history, a monument of cultural synthesis, one singular object that in its multifaceted dimension and secular nature epitomizes the city it stands tall and proud in, and in a larger sense, the nation itself. Shanmukhananda is a living tradition. As I stand before you this evening, nostalgic memories of the past stare at me and grip my mind. And I feel it's time to take that out of myself and record it for posterity. All that greatness this institution has been. There are very few in the audience who would know the history of this institution, and the generation about to come would have nothing of it. Therefore, this is an occasion for me to unfold the great institution that this Shanmukhananda has been. Wordsworth was not wrong when he said, "Oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flashed upon that inward eye, which is a bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills." Of course, he concluded dances with the daffodils. I am not going to dance with the daffodils. I am going to dance with our institution. In the year 1957, the first Prime Minister of our country, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, came to Mumbai, then Bombay, and addressing a group of people, he lamented that the city that claims itself to be the commercial capital of this country does not have a major convention center, a major trade center, or even a large auditorium. All that he said did not provoke the then Bombayites, except a few migrant South Indians living in this part of the city, people who have come to this city to earn a living for themselves. They nurtured a dream out of the desire of the Prime Minister. They saw that they can be the instruments for creating the largest auditorium, not just in the country, but the east of Suez Canal. But then people with pockets which are not deep, there was nothing in those pockets, the wallets were empty, but a mind which was brimming with confidence, or with unfound energy that was keeping them going, they decided to go about the task of building the largest auditorium, as I said, east of Suez Canal from Egypt. Brick by brick, block by block, they went about their chosen task. The cost of construction of this auditorium in that period was 32 lakhs of rupees. As she correctly said, on the 26th of January 1959, the foundation stone for this auditorium was laid by S.K. Patil, who then became the godfather of this institution. It was his blessings, it was his support and encouragement that helped the then managing committee to go about its task. They could not raise those 32 lakhs. When the building was virtually ready, still they owed a lot of monies to Shapurji Palonji Construction Company. And Palonji Mistri could see the struggle of this institution, and he waived off 3.65 lakhs of rupees, princely sum by any standards, so that there will be little working capital available to the institution to carry on its activities in this majestic auditorium. On this joy, Sri B.V.S. Iyengar, the reputed architect who gave to the city the iconic Churchgate railway station and the Western Railway headquarters, constructed this auditorium with his architectural services free of cost. On this joyous occasion, we remember all the three of them with a deep reverence, regard and admiration for their selflessness. When the auditorium had come to a virtual stage of completion on the 28th of April 1963, the first president of the Sabha, Professor T.V. Ramanujan, wrote to the Prime Minister and conveyed to him that his desire has been fulfilled by the South Indians of Mumbai. And he hand-delivered that letter to the Prime Minister's office on that very same day. Those days, if you all are aware, there is one Dakota and Aravali which goes in the morning to Delhi and back. That's the only way you can reach. No couriers, no emails, no WhatsApp. The Prime Minister saw the letter the very same day, was delighted to no end that this city has responded to what he wanted. But unfortunately, he could not make it for the appointed date that was given to him, the 22nd of August 1963, as he was, during that period, scheduled to be on a foreign visit. He therefore seconded his sister, Dr. Vijayalakshmi Pandit, to come and inaugurate the auditorium on his behalf. That was a wet Thursday. Today also it rained. That day also it rained. Arigudi Ramanuja was brought in a ceremonial procession, an honor reserved for very few artists, and then guided to the stage. That day he gave a vintage classic, the like of which is not seen in the Carnatic world. He was accompanied on the violin by Professor T. N. Krishnan and on the mridangam by Palakkad Mani Iyer. Even today when you surf the net on the YouTube, whenever you see 1963 concert of Shanmukhananda Arikudi, people will listen at least for a fraction of time. That was the beginning of the happenings on the stage. On the second day, Chembai Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar poured the divine blessings of Guru Ayappan onto this stage. On the third day, the Nightingale of Music, Srimati M.S. Subbulakshmi, gave a scintillating performance. Such was the euphoria and the frenzy that was created at the construction of the new auditorium that the membership of the Sabha, which was 2,820, swelled to 5,260 in 2 weeks' time, and the managing committee of the Sabha had to perforce stop further admissions to the Sabha. And then it came to the credit of any performing artist on this stage, only in this stage and nowhere else in the country, to give back-to-back performances. On the first day, performance for the patrons, the life members, the VIPs, and a section of Class 1, and on the second day, to the balance of Class 1, Class 2 members, and those who could not make it on the first day. Artists had deemed it a privilege to come just not for one performance as you see today, to come and give it on 2 occasions. That's how it started. In the year 1963, the Sabha started its annual Music Dance Drama Festival, and Satyanarayana, then Union Minister for Information Broadcasting, and came and inaugurated that October festival, which remained with the Sabha for a long time thereafter. Srimati Vijayalakshmi Pandit had laudatory reference to the Prime Minister on what she saw and inaugurated. So the Prime Minister immediately deputed Thiru K. Kamaraj and Bhaktavachalam, then the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, to pay a visit to this auditorium. And when they went back and endorsed what she said and something more than what she said, Panditji immediately decided that the next adivation of All India Congress Committee shall be held in this auditorium. So in the first half of 1964, the AICC decided to hold its adivation in this new auditorium. The Worthington centrifuge air conditioning system, which was imported, had got stuck in the customs for some time, and therefore time was not adequate to install the air conditioning system. But the ducting was complete in all respects. 4,000 delegates from all across the country were coming to hear the Prime Minister, and they required a cool enviro to participate all through the deliberations of the adivation. Blue Star Engineering, then a private limited company, came out with the most novel and innovative idea of air conditioning of public places when they decided to cool this air conditioning through large blocks of ice. 4,000 metric tons of ice were dumped into the overhead water tanks at 1 hour interval, and the cool air that emanated therefrom were guided through the ducts into the auditorium. And the coolness that pervaded the auditorium all through the session was unbelievable, that the sukoon or the comfort that the delegates got could not be described. The grateful BBCC, the Bombay Pradesh Congress Committee, gave a generous donation of 25,000 rupees to the Sabha for the extraordinary services it provided for the adivation in 1964. In the year 1965, the Sabha celebrated jointly with the film fraternity, the entire Bollywood of this city, the Silver Jubilee of Lata Mangeshkar's association with Bollywood. The year 1966 saw a flurry of activities because all the infrastructure was completed. The Russian ballet came, The Australian puppetry was there. The Cincinnati Orchestra of Washington, USIS, collaborated, also came onto the stage. And we also had, during that period, the folk music of Yugoslavia. All the four of them came during the year 1966, bringing international performers onto the stage of the Sabha for the first time. In the year 1967, the Sabha, jointly with the Bombay Municipal Corporation, gave a civic reception to Dr. Zakir Hussain, the newly elected President of India, who was on his first visit to Bombay after getting elected as the President. In that year of 1967 began one of the most evergreen relationships experienced between an institution and an individual, namely the Prime Minister of India and the Shanmukanand Sabha. In the year 1967, Madam Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister, came to this Sabha and inaugurated the National Convention on Cow Protection. History can never be lied. Today, many can take credit for the protection of the holy cow, but it was Indira Gandhi who started the national movement on preservation, protection of cow from this very platform. The year 1968 saw political turmoil, turbulence in the country. The so-called syndicated gained control over the Congress, and the government could never function efficiently and adequately because of the resistance from the party itself. Madam Indira Gandhi unfolded a series of social measures. During that year, the bank nationalization came, followed by the abolition of the privy purses. She then unfolded another magic of solidarity pledges by people of the country across the country. Because she wanted to strengthen herself, that she came to the people, to the grassroots, so that she can combat the force and the power of the syndicate. She decided to have solidarity pledges, and the first solidarity pledge was taken in this Vyasapita. The Prime Minister came all the way and administered it personally to all the members of the Sabha. It was only for the members of the Sabha that the solidarity pledge was given. 3,200 of them assembled for the pledge that the Prime Minister administered for them in the year 1968. In the year 1969, the French ballet came to the Sabha. That was the year the Sabha decided to unfold the magic of the stage for films. And it decided to tweak the structure so that films can be screened in this Sabha. And for a very long time, till technology advanced, around 160 films were screened here regularly like any other theatre. Satyakam, the adapted version from south of India, had its premiere here. In that year, the Bennett Coleman and Company Limited decided to expand all its brand programs onto this platform. It started with Filmfare in the year 1963, and by 1970, it brought the News Weekly's fashion show, the Miss Universe India contest, and the Miss Universe Young India contest, all came onto the platforms of this Sabha. By the year 1970, the acoustic system had its wear and tear, and time had come for its overhauling. And when it was overhauled, it had a dramatic influence in this auditorium. Such was the impact it had that on the 15th of February and 16th of February 1971, the Nandikor drama troupe came all the way from rural Bengal to stage their play here. And for 2 full days, the entire Bengali population of Bombay had gathered in this assembly for Nandikor drama troupe. Being a rural drama troupe, they shunned any form of acoustics or electronic transmissions and decided to use their vocal cord and their expressions of their face for the dramas. I think it's a lesson for several of our drama troupes to take. Such was the magic of what unfolded on this stage, that the sound travelled seamlessly to the large seat in the corner of the second floor. And the happenings on the stage, the expressions were distinctly visible even at the remotest corners of this auditorium. And overnight, the Bengalis of Bombay became the ambassadors for Shanmughan and Sabha. The impact of their spreading the good word was that the bookings expanded substantially in the Sabha thereafter, virtually to one program per day on this stage. In the year 1972, the Government of India decided to bring its annual awards function, the Film Awards function, the Dadasaheb Phalke Awards function, to the Sabha. That also came in that year. In the year 1976, it was time for the Prime Minister again to come back to us. If you unfold history, you would know that in 1966, it was no longer the Congress party that was giving trouble to the government. It was the opposition which had gained much strength and public appeal. Jayaprakash Narayan's Navanirman movement, starting from Ahmedabad, had resonated very well with the populace of this country. Finding it extremely difficult to run the government, the Prime Minister this time decided to have conferences across the country on disciplined democracy. And she came to this auditorium for yet another session on disciplined democracy to be addressed to the Bombayites like she did elsewhere in the country. But then when it came to a point of no return for the government, the Prime Minister made the stupid action of bringing the instrument of emergency and thereby destroying all the good work that she had done for the country. And with that came to an end the relationship of the Sabha with the Prime Minister. From then onwards, it was smooth going for the Sabha for the next decade. Every day having a program, and the peak of the best of programs all across the country. From abroad had come. Several of landmark programs were held over here. Congresses were held over here until the 28th of February 1990. On that fateful Saturday morning, there was a school annual day function, and the children had assembled for a candlelit dance. And each child was carrying a candle, which the wick was lit and given to them. They were going round in circle. And from the duct over here, the draft of the duct was able to pull one of the wick, a small wick of a small candle in a tiny hand, was drafted into the duct. And that was good enough, like a towering inferno, to travel across the duct. And this mighty institution, made up of several tons of steel, cement, concrete, metal additives, ingots, in an hour's time came crashing down with only debris and mud and earth and dust. Such was the divine grace of the presiding deity of this institution that the 3,200 children who had assembled over here, all could be evacuated, and not even one had even a scratch. That was the greatness of the benediction of Lord Kartikeya to this institution. When the news spread like a wildfire, members came from all across the city running to the Sabha. What they saw, they could not believe. Their institution that they had created with their loving hands has been demised. And they never saw that there is yet another occasion for them to have the auditorium again. They cried profusely. But then the visionary president of this institution, he did not give in to the fall of fate. He saw in it an opportunity to rebuild this institution, replete with all modern acoustics and advanced systems, so that that opportunity can be utilized to give a modern auditorium than the one that was created in the year 1963. The story was again the same. There was nothing in their wallet because they were hand-to-mouth running institution. And all that they could collect from the insurance company was 82 lakhs of rupees. And then when it was decided to rebuild and reconstruct this auditorium, a decision was taken that the front facade cannot be replaced because it had not undergone great damage. Only the auditorium was to be rebuilt. And that costed 14 crores of rupees in the first estimate, far beyond the capacity of this institution. Again, there were several stars who came, godfathers who emanated. Shri Sharad Pawar, the then Chief Minister of Maharashtra, and Shri Manohar Joshi, who succeeded Sharad Pawar, became the biggest supporters for the rebuilding efforts of this Shanmukanand Sabha. The government of Maharashtra went out of its way, not only in giving generous funds for the reconstruction, making available several tax concessions, not even that, even the racecourse betting taxes were diverted to the Sabha, and more importantly, gave all the approvals for rebuilding. On the joyous occasion like this, we remember with equal gratitude both Mr. Sharad Pawar and Mr. Manohar Joshi for having realized this dream of the poor South Indians who gave this city in the year 1963 what others could not do. On the 1st of October 1998, the Graha Pravesham of this auditorium was done. It was a dream come true for Dr. V. Subramaniam. I could still imagine every brick, mortar and clay of this institution breathes, speaks, lives Dr. Subramaniam. But for him, this would not have come. The Graha Pravesham was done at the hands of Dr. P.G. Alexander, then the governor of Maharashtra. Again, it was the same story. The Prime Minister who had agreed to come could not make it on that day. Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the then Prime Minister, followed up faster than Nehru, and on the 6th of October 1998, he came to this Sabha and inaugurated the International Agro Conference of the government of Maharashtra and saw for himself the rebuilding efforts of this institution. Such was the effort of Dr. Subramaniam that the government of India contributed, I think, 50 lakhs of rupees in the first tranche, another 50 lakhs, and compulsorily made every state government to contribute for the rebuilding efforts of an auditorium in one state. Never before in the history of institution building has the governments of the country across the states had participated in the rebuilding efforts of this institution. On the 27th of December 2000, this majestic auditorium was rechristened as Sri Shanmukananda Chandrasekarnedra Saraswati Auditorium. Today we speak about double barrel, double engine, that's what the Prime Minister also speaks. Double engine government, my government at the center and my own government at the state. Catalytic influence of that for running a state election. But the double barrel of God and the Guru works here. And for 25 years thereafter till today, there has been magic on the stage. Whatever has been unfolding on the stage is unbelievable by any standard for anyone. Art and culture got a great fillip in the last 25 years. Countless number of institutions have graced the institution and conducted their own performances to further the cause of fine arts in the country. And such was the greatness of this stage because it was decorated by several of them. And I miss telling you something which is very interesting. As history repeats itself in this institution, after the Nandikor drama troupe came and performed over a year, shunning all the facilities, immediately thereafter, the Chinmaya mission came to celebrate its silver jubilee in this auditorium. Puja Gurudev was present on that occasion, And it was a fundraising concert by Dr. M.S. Subbulakshmi. The entire 3,200 seats were sold completely. And as Subbulakshmi started the concert, power went off. And those were days when the Sabha could not afford backup generators. And the entire auditorium plunged into darkness. Pujya Gurudev lit a small lamp by the side of Subbulakshmi and exhorted her to sing. What she sang would not have even reached him where he was seated, leave alone going to the first seat or to people on the second floor. But such was the bhava, the bhakti and the emotion of the artist that not one person came out of his seat. They were glued to that seat for full 3.5 hours. And when she had just about to conclude Mangalam, bringing to end a traditional Carnatic concert, power came. And then she requested Gurudev that I will sing for some time for this great audience. And so she did. At the end of the concert, Swami Chimyananda announced that next morning, 100% refund will be given to everyone in this auditorium, and 8 o'clock the counters will open. You will never believe, not even one person, not even one came to collect the refund. That was the grace of Subbulakshmi, the divinity of this auditorium, and the greatness of the expression that travels right up to the end because of the way it has been done. The beauty of all these three things merged to give an experience which defies normal understanding. Things have been going on like this, and we celebrated our Golden Jubilee in the year 2002, Diamond Jubilee in the year 2012. Several awards and recognitions were brought in, and Sabha emerged as the largest institution next to the government as far as awards are concerned. And as far as awards for youngsters are concerned, streets and miles ahead of any other institution in the country. And as we have travelled, today, as we host this program, it is the 17,517th program. When you take into consideration that agent of years was lost between 1990 and 1998, 28th of February 1990 and 1st of October 1998, agent of years had gone without the auditorium. And 2 full years, this auditorium was locked because of the pandemic. So 10.5 years out of the 60 years of the stage were without performances. And therefore, if 17,757 were to be equated to the remaining number of years, it averages more than 350 per year. Virtually every day, one program. No other institution in the country can claim this. Nowhere. Not even government auditoriums given free can claim that it can clock on an average one program per day. Of course, it's not uniformly one program, but during monsoon, nobody can come here. But then there are programs twice a day, sometimes thrice a day. But bulk of the year, it's on. And that is what has evolved as the true iconic identity of this auditorium, whose 60 years we are celebrating today. What does a cultural institution celebrate its milestone except to celebrate art? And how else to celebrate art than to celebrate the generation next? Because if this virasat of this blessed land of ours is to survive several more generations to come, it is in the hands of the youngsters to whom it is being handed over. And therefore, we thought it appropriate, even though all our awards are given in the month of December, as far as Shanmugha Shironmani awards are concerned or the Sangeeta Kalavibhushan is concerned, 2 special awards were brought in to celebrate the Diamond Jubilee of the Auditorium, and two young stalwarts, promising youngsters, one for Carnatic music and one for Hindustani, are here with us. Look at them carefully. One day they will become so important that we may not be able to have this distance of seeing them. And this Vyasapita once, and Rahul is a fixed person on the 31st of December every year. Whether he comes elsewhere or not, he closes the year for this Sabha. So I am sure Shadaj will also bring the Agra Atrauli Gharanas choicest on this stage as years go by and he completes his full training in the ITC Sangeet Academy in Kolkata. But above all this institution's Aradhya Gaika is undoubtedly Subbalakshmi. But I think the fortune of having Subbalakshmi as the presiding artist of this institution gave us several other artists to come our way. And the relationship between an artist and an institution is platonic, because he wants a stage, he wants a fees, and Sabha's members want a program. But seldom does the relationship transcend beyond this level of an artist and an institution and graduates to a level where both are together on the same page, trying to take culture forward. And there we are blessed to have Srimati Revati Shankaran. Next to Amma. Now, after her demise, we have started calling her our Amma. Even at this ripe age, past her 80, along with her husband, past 86, they have come all the way from Chennai to be part of the joyous celebrations and to give you one more feast of what will come out of her tongue, where Saraswati resides. I think we are envious of her because Saraswati has gone completely into her and the rest of the country has got very little of her. The versatility of the artist is to be seen, to be believed. It's not only languages, it's not only singing, it's not only arikatha, it's not only storytelling. Everything will unfold from this artist. And you can also listen to her in Bengali if you want. So that's the greatness of the artist. We are indeed beholden to her for having come all the way to grace the function this evening. I decided to tell all this evening because very few of us know the greatness of this institution. At least now it will get into the digital media for a generation next to know what Shanmukhanand is all about. As I come to the end of my address this evening, let me conclude this time with an Irish blessing. I always conclude with Upanishads, but let me have an Irish blessings this evening. May the road race to meet you in your path. May the winds blow only behind you. May the sun shine gently and warmly on your face. May the rains fall onto your fields subtly and gently. And until we meet again, may the good Lord hold us all secure in the palm of His hands. Thank you and God bless.